Hello and welcome to SCN Corporate Connect. I'm Jane King at the NASDAQ market site in Times Square. And with me today, Ron Ford, the CEO of RONN Motor Group, and also Harry Hayes, the president of RONN Motor Group. So thank you for coming to the NASDAQ today and sharing the story of the company, which I really enjoyed learning about. So why don't you tell us quickly, what is RONN Motor Group and what does the company do?
Well, RONN Motor Group, we're an automobile manufacturer. We manufacture electric vehicles, all electric vehicles, and we're unique in such a way that we've been in the hydrogen space for about 9 years now. Our original car, the Scorpion, was a hydrogen-assisted automobile. All of our new vehicles and transportation systems will be all electric. We're going to offer hydrogen fuel cell range extenders. A lot of people say, what is that? Well, all that means to us or you is that those vehicles, whether they be trucks or buses or automobiles that we manufacture, it'll extend their range out drivability. Like our automobiles will have ranges with the hydrogen fuel cell somewhere around 600 miles plus of range. Now, that might not be a big thing. Everybody says, well, in the United States, we don't have a lot of hydrogen stations. Well, that's true. But we're now a global company. We have new offices in Sweden, and we have a new agreement that we're working on inside of China as well. In China, all throughout Europe, they have a lot more hydrogen than they do here, and it's mandated along with electric vehicles.
Now it seems like, I know hydrogen cars have been around for a while, but it seems like the timing is right for this. People are starting to accept it more. They're becoming more popular. I mean, would you say you're also sensing that as well?
We sense that very much so. Of course, we've always believed in hydrogen, and we're not opposed to the battery automobiles. Our new car will have batteries in it as well. We'll just have the hydrogen will actually provide electricity to charge the batteries. That's what that's for. But you see the transition beginning to happen further down the road as we get more hydrogen stations. You see Japan, for example, they're going all hydrogen. They're going to spend $400 million converting to all hydrogen vehicles just for the new Olympics coming up.
Wow.
You see, I think Honda, Toyota, Kia, Hyundai, they all have new all hydrogen powered vehicles.
Yeah, and I know in the Pacific Northwest they have a lot of charging stations for alternative vehicles as well.
Correct.
More so than they do on the East Coast, it seems like. So Harry, what problem is RONN Motor Group addressing?
Basically, RONN Motor Group's addressing the problem associated really with the environment and the impact of gasoline and diesel-powered vehicles. It's a move that is not just in the United States, but is being pioneered, particularly in Europe, through what the Europeans call Roadmap 2050. And what that means is that all fossil fuels in Europe will be banned by the year 2050.
Wow.
Specifically in Sweden, where we have very strong connections, and we have an acquisition pending there, is that they are actually pushing the timeline up into 2030. And in automotive terms, that's almost tomorrow. Yeah. So we're in that situation where we're very, very primed to be able to take advantage of that. And who doesn't need clean air?
Right, right. We'll talk a little bit more about what you're doing in Europe here in a second, but first, how big is the market and what's its future? I mean, it's huge, global.
Well, it's a global, it's exactly, and it's not just because we want to drive cool electric cars, but in fact it's been mandated, just like Harry said, all throughout Europe. So the mandates, if you just look at what they have right now, the Paris Agreement that they had just in 2015, where all these countries got together and decided how many electric vehicles they need to have. By the year 2050, they're expecting 100 million new electric and hydrogen-powered vehicles on the roads. So 100 million, all the car makers today that are in place, if they stopped doing everything they did and started converting everything to all electric, can't meet that. They can't even meet half of that. So the market is beyond my comprehension.
Now, it's a huge market, but there are other players. So how do you distinguish yourself from the other players in this space? Yeah. Harry?
We're not just concentrating on automobiles. Okay. We're concentrating on all forms of road passenger vehicles. So we're looking at passenger buses, all electric passenger vehicles. That's very, very key, particularly in Europe and also in China, as Ron had mentioned. We're also, when you think of the bans for fossil fuel vehicles inside major cities, how does a UPS or a FedEx deliver parcels inside a city? They're going to have all electric vehicles. That's another facet that we bring to the table on that. And then, of course, that's the kind of like the bread and butter of that. but the real nature of having automobiles in there, and particularly the exotic nature of Scorpion and Phoenix, just makes that a very well-rounded offering that RONN Motor Group actually can offer the consumer.
I mean, it's really transformative. I mean, it's changing the way we live, what we're used to.
It's very much so. We've been concerned about that for a long time. Personally, I mean, we're older now, right? I hate to admit that, but it's just true. We got kids, we got grandkids, and the way that we've built automobiles as well as what we drive them with, and that it just has to change, because those things are affecting our health, our life, you know, and our children have to grow up to that, you know. And I pitch these numbers around a lot about that. Is, you know, in America we have 1,000 cars for 1,000 people. In Europe we got about 600 cars for every 1,000 people. In China, as an example, they're at about 7 to 10 cars for 1,000 people. So that just for China alone we need hundreds of millions of new vehicles, and you can't continue to build fossil fuel powered vehicles. I mean, the pollution and the smog, whether you believe in climate change or not, it's just the reality of the world today. India's coming along, it's going to be bigger than China, and delivery trucks, commercial trucks, buses, and then you still have Africa in line. It's a tremendous change in the way we think and the way we do business. We just have to we have no choice but to make that change.
So they're environmentally friendly cars, but they're also pretty darn hot looking too. I mean, I was looking at your dials, they're beautiful. So talk about the design. So you had the Scorpion was the first model, right? And there's a new one coming along. So just talk about the design. And
you know, life's too short to drive ugly automobiles, and so we're a firm believer in that. You know, I'm old school. I've been building automobiles for 50 years. We had something to prove when we built the first Scorpion. We wanted to prove that the big automakers didn't have to build a fuel-efficient automobile. It didn't have to look like a little box or an egg or something like that. But in fact, it could be in the supercar class and look exotic, go 200 miles an hour, and yet still protect the environment at the same time.
Okay, so you're under Reg A+.
We are.
Kind of this unique new way of funding companies. So talk about that a little bit, as well as just the whole investor process that you're going through right now.
You want to?
No, I'll let you do that.
Okay, sure. So we filed for the new Reg A+, Tier 2 offering. It's a $50 million offering. We chose the new crowdfunding. We call it crowdfunding on steroids, because you know, automobiles have the largest affinity group in the world. And so we wanted to take advantage of that. We've been sort of operating behind the scenes for about 5 years, putting together our business model and our new Phoenix car that you were talking about. Crowdfunding and social media allowed us the opportunity to get known globally in a very short amount of time, which you didn't used to have that advantage. And you know, I grew up in a world where, you know, the average person, you know, of modest means, couldn't participate in IPOs and stuff. That wasn't available to us. Only the top 5% of the population got to do that. But today, the government has changed the rules for the first time in history. So anyone of any means whatsoever, if they have an affinity, or whether they like electric cars or just cool cars or the climate control, whatever they like, you know, and they want to get in on that, they have an opportunity to invest in a company like ours. So the other 95% of the world that didn't get to participate now have that ability to do that, and they can just.
It's great that they open it up to people to buy, you know, 100 shares or whatever. You know.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. So in our case, you know, for $1,000, you can get 400 shares of our company. We're still going to give you a really cool T-shirt. We're going to give you a nice hat, but you're going to own equity in our company for that same deal. So it's got all the benefits of Kickstarters, but you get the benefit of an IPO on the other side. What a great thing that the government has done for us.
Yeah, it really is. How can somebody find out more about investing in the company?
If you wanted to find out more about the company, you have several ways. We're going to be presenting to family office groups around the country for the next 2 months. You can go to our website, www.ronn, R-O-N-N, it's Ron with 2 N's, motorgroup.com. That's another fine way to do that.
Okay, and then finally I want to talk to you about the global mindset. I know, Harry, you talked about Sweden, potentially Asia as well, so talk to me a little bit about that. Okay,
Sweden and Scandinavia in particular, it really is at the forefront of the electric vehicle market in Europe. Certainly they're the ones that are pushing faster than any other country. Germany is very, very close behind. And that impetus is going to drive the business. It has to do. Whenever a government regulates something, and makes a particular statement, a European statement in fact, that you have to do something, and we're well poised to be able to do that. Let's say specifically the Chinese market. These numbers are a couple of years old now, but the second country for manufacturing volume is the United States, with about 10 million vehicles a year, 10 million autos a year. Third was Japan, with about 9.5 million. Fourth was Germany, with just under 7 million. China is making 22 million vehicles a year. And the Chinese government has mandated that within 5 years, 15% have to be all electric vehicles.
Move for them.
It's a massive, massive market. And once the government mandates something like that, you find a way to do it.
Yeah.
And we found that way to do it.
Okay, thank you so much, Harry and Ron, for joining us and sharing the story of fascinating car company. Just not just the business, but just how the whole world is changing around it. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jane.
And thank you as well for joining us. And you can go to smallcapnation.com for more information about RONN Motor Group or any other companies. And have a great day. We'll catch you next time.